Have you ever wondered how a grape transforms into the wine you enjoy with every toast? In today's video, we invite you to discover a fascinating journey from the vineyard to the glass. Immerse yourself in the world of winemaking, where every stage, from the meticulous selection of grapes at their optimal ripeness to the final bottling, is carried out with precision and passion. Get ready to learn the secrets and techniques that have been refined over the centuries and that transform the viticulturist's work into an art celebrating the union between nature and tradition. The winemaking process begins in the vineyard, where the harvest marks the first fundamental step. At this time, the vineyards present grapes at their optimal ripeness, in which the balance between sugar and acidity is such that it determines the fermentation potential and the final alcohol level. The grapes are carefully collected, selecting only the clusters that are in ideal condition. During this process, any grapes that show imperfections or have not reached the proper level of ripeness are discarded, thus ensuring that only the best quality fruit is used to achieve an excellent wine. Once the grapes have been gathered at their ideal state, the next step is to separate the fruit from the undesired parts. This phase consists of eliminating the stems, leaves, and any foreign elements that could interfere with the purity of the juice. To accomplish this, a machine designed for destemming is used to separate the clusters, leaving only the grapes ready to be processed. On some occasions, an alternative technique called carbonic maceration is used, in which the whole cluster is introduced into a controlled environment with a low oxygen concentration, so that the grapes ferment without having their essential components removed. Although this technique can impart unique properties, the resulting wines usually have lower stability and reduced aging potential compared to those made by conventional methods. With the grapes now free of any undesired elements, the crushing process begins. In this stage, the fruit is subjected to controlled pressure through specialized machinery, gently breaking the skin to release the juice and mix it with the pulp, giving rise to a homogeneous mixture known as must. It is extremely important to regulate the pressure precisely since excessive crushing can end up breaking the seeds, which release bitter compounds that would negatively affect the wine's flavor. Therefore, the crushing must be done with utmost delicacy to preserve the aromatic compounds and avoid unwanted flavors in the final product. The must obtained during crushing immediately moves on to a crucial stage where the contact between the liquid and the grape skins, also known as pomace, is intensified. During this period, which can last 1 or 2 weeks, the wine's organoleptic characteristics gradually consolidate. Maceration allows the tannins, color, and aromas present in the skins to transfer to the must. Moreover, a continuous practice of stirring or pumping over the must is carried out, which helps to evenly integrate the extracted components and promotes a better evolution of the fermentation. During this phase, alcoholic fermentation occurs, in which the natural yeasts present on the grape skins transform the sugars into alcohol. The process temperature is rigorously controlled, usually kept below 30 degrees Celsius, to ensure that the conversion happens smoothly and that the wine retains its desired properties. As fermentation advances, the liquid is carefully transferred to new containers. This movement, known as racking, aims to separate the must from the accumulated sediments and allows the fermentation to continue without interference from unwanted particles. During this racking, which can extend over 2 or 3 weeks, the wine settles and partially clarifies, removing some impurities as they settle at the bottom of the tanks. In some cases, the bleeding technique is implemented, which involves extracting part of the liquid by taking advantage of the density differences between the must and the sediments. This selective separation makes it possible to obtain 2 distinct streams. One that continues to perfect itself under controlled fermentation conditions, and another that is separated for specific treatment, influencing the complexity of the final result. Once most of the solid material has settled, the pressing stage begins. Here, the remaining mass of grapes and pulp is introduced into mechanical presses that, through very controlled pressure, extract the residual juice known as press wine. It is essential to process this portion of liquid separately, as its characteristics may differ from the must obtained in earlier stages. The solid remains left after pressing, commonly known as pomace, hold value, as they are often destined for distillation processes to produce other liquors or are treated to take advantage of their components. The separation of the wine obtained from pressing and that collected during racking allows for rigorous control over the evolution and integration of the different streams that make up the final product. Once the extraction is complete and the primary fermentation has consolidated, the wine enters a new phase of transformation known as malolactic fermentation. In this stage, naturally occurring bacteria convert malic acid, which initially gives the wine an intense acidity, into lactic acid, which is much softer. This process adjusts and balances the wine's acid profile, giving it a rounder texture and a less harsh flavor. Temperature and timing control are vital during this secondary fermentation, since variations in these parameters can significantly influence the proper transformation of the acid, and, consequently, the sensory outcome of the final product. With the wine chemically stabilized, it moves on to a maturation and development phase that takes place in wooden containers, usually oak barrels. During this aging period, the wine is exposed to micro-oxygenation produced by the interaction with the wood and the controlled entry of small amounts of oxygen through its pores. This gradual oxygenation contributes to the integration of tannins, the deepening of aromas, and the development of complex mature flavors in the wine. The type of oak, the size of its pores, and the degree of barrel toasting are factors that determine the unique character each barrel can impart. The duration of aging can vary significantly depending on the style of wine desired, and when this period concludes, the barrel may be reused in other processes or eventually repurposed for uses such as producing other distilled spirits. Before the wine can be considered ready for market, it must undergo one final purification procedure: clarification. During this process, the impurities and suspended particles that may have remained in the liquid are removed, ensuring that the wine has a clean and translucent appearance. To achieve this, different methods may be used, ranging from clarifying agents to traditional techniques that use egg whites, whose coagulation effect gathers and eliminates the sediments. It is crucial that the clarification is carried out precisely, as overdoing this procedure could also remove compounds that provide body and personality to the wine, thereby affecting its texture and flavor in an undesired way. Finally, after having gone through the complex and meticulous previous stages, the process reaches its last step: bottling. In this phase, the wine, now clarified and stabilized, is carefully transferred to bottles, which usually have a standard capacity, although various presentations exist depending on tradition and the market. Bottling is performed in such a way as to ensure the continuity of the maturation process, since in some cases, the wine continues to develop its internal characteristics through interaction with the cork, which allows a very subtle entry of oxygen. For certain wine styles, bottling represents the end of the process and the beginning of distribution, while for others, the period of rest in the bottle allows the nuances and complexity developed throughout the process to finally integrate. Every detail in this stage is handled with utmost care to preserve the quality and character of the wine, reflecting in each container a part of the history, tradition, and accumulated knowledge during its production. This long and meticulous journey from the vineyard to the bottle demonstrates the complexity and passion involved in wine production. Each phase, from the collection and selection of the best grapes, through the removal of undesired elements, the careful control during crushing to extract the juice, to the prolonged maceration that allows the transfer of color and aroma, is essential to obtain a final product of high quality. The alcoholic fermentation and the subsequent malolactic fermentation are delicate biological processes carried out under strict temperature and time conditions, ensuring that the wine's flavors and structure develop as desired. Bottling not only preserves the wine's qualities, but also allows it to continue its evolution over time, serving as a testimony to the interaction between the enologist's tradition and the constant innovation in production techniques.